In the year 2142, Earth made its first undeniable contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, not through peaceful exploration or cautious outreach, but through a demand for surrender. The galactic hegemony, a vast empire of over 200 advanced species, had detected humanity's rapid technological ascent and saw it as a potential future threat. Their consensus was swift and arrogant. Better to crush Earth now while its people still relied on primitive fusion drives and kinetic weaponry. A small but elite hegemony fleet, more than enough, they believed, to pacify any resistance, arrived in orbit. Their envoy broadcast a multilingual ultimatum. Earth was to surrender unconditionally and submit to resource extraction and cultural assimilation. The message was wrapped in polite diplomatic language, but its meaning was clear. Humanity was being told to kneel. The United Earth Council met an emergency session. Despite their fear, the leaders were not foolish. They knew they stood little chance in open warfare against civilizations thousands of years more advanced. But surrender wasn't in their nature. Humanity had not united its warring factions and crossed the stars to bow down so easily. Instead of responding with hostility, Earth stalled for time. Diplomats feigned confusion, requested clarification, and sent endless procedural queries. Meanwhile, military engineers worked around the clock to activate planetary defense systems and launch contingency strike forces. Earth's militaries pooled their remaining orbital assets, even modifying old Cold War relics into space-worthy strike drones. 3 days later, Earth made its answer known. In a sudden coordinated strike, human railgun satellites and stealth corvettes fired at key hegemony frigates. Nuclear-tipped missiles launched from submarines and hidden silos arced into orbit. Electromagnetic pulses scrambled targeting systems, while swarms of drone fighters harassed capital ships with kamikaze tactics. The aliens were caught off guard. Their fleet had never encountered an enemy so willing to sacrifice assets in order to exploit gaps in enemy defenses. While the technology was inferior, human ingenuity, especially the use of redundant systems and unpredictable tactics, allowed them to inflict real damage. 2 hegemony destroyers were destroyed, and several more heavily damaged before Earth's forces were beaten back. The aftermath was sobering for both sides. On Earth, billions mourned the loss of cities targeted in orbital retaliation. Yet the fact that the mighty hegemony bled at all brought a surge of hope. On the alien side, however, it led to confusion and derision. Some hegemony commanders praised the humans' creativity. Others mocked them as reckless barbarians who got lucky. A report circulated through the hegemony ranks. Humanity had shown all its cards, and while resourceful, they posed no long-term threat to hegemony supremacy. What the aliens didn't understand, what no sensor sweep or intercepted transmission could reveal, was that Earth had only used the tools it could afford to lose. The most powerful human weapons, the ones that could rewrite the battlefield entirely, were hidden, locked away, not because humanity feared defeat, but because they feared what they might become if they unleashed them. The hegemony prepared for a second wave, larger, better armed, and more determined. They believed they had seen Earth's best. They hadn't, not even close. After the initial strike, the hegemony fleet retreated to regroup and plan for a more decisive offensive, confident in their technological superiority. But on Earth, the cost of their victory was clear. Cities lay in ruin, millions had perished, and the survivors were scrambling to organize their next move. In the wake of the attack, the United Earth Council forged a new alliance, the Earth Defense Alliance, EDA. Comprised of military leaders, engineers, and top-tier strategists, the EDA quickly became the central hub for global coordination. Despite Earth's limited resources, humanity's resilience and resourcefulness were unmatched. While the aliens marveled at the sheer unpredictability of human tactics, they underestimated one crucial factor. Earth was not a unified species simply relying on sheer firepower, but a collective of diverse cultures with centuries of experience in resistance, guerrilla warfare, and surviving against overwhelming odds. From the jungles of Africa to the war-torn streets of Europe and the deserts of the Middle East, humanity's greatest strength was its ability to adapt and fight against greater powers. At first, the hegemony's command structure remained dismissive. The aliens assumed Earth's forces were disorganized, that the initial strike was nothing more than a fluke. They believed the humans would break under the weight of superior technology and numbers. But what the hegemony didn't anticipate was humanity's ability to fight on multiple fronts simultaneously, using tactics so unconventional that they confounded the alien command structure. Human fighters launched hit-and-run tactics, attacking alien convoys with homemade explosives, and guerrilla strategies honed in centuries of warfare. Earth's military used cyber warfare to infiltrate alien communication networks, sending disinformation that threw hegemony forces into disarray. Even in cities, where human infrastructure should have been a liability, humanity used its knowledge of local terrain, exploiting urban environments with precision and ruthlessness. Aliens, accustomed to full-scale space battles and straight engagements, were ill-prepared for such unpredictable street-to-street warfare. And it was this human ingenuity that sparked an internal debate among the alien leadership. The hegemony's confidence began to erode. Alien commanders were perplexed by the sudden resilience of the humans, whose tactics seemed to evolve daily. They began to question their initial assessments. Was humanity simply playing a prolonged game of survival, or was there something more? Amid these mounting frustrations, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. An alien officer, taken prisoner during one of the numerous skirmishes, was interrogated by Earth's military intelligence. During his captivity, he revealed something shocking. The hegemony had completely underestimated the depth of humanity's technological reserves. They had assumed the humans were pulling from their known arsenal, weaponry that had been used during the initial attacks. But the reality was far more disturbing. The full breadth of humanity's technological capabilities had never been revealed. The alien officer spoke in hushed tones of the vast untapped potential that remained hidden, a revelation that would shake the hegemony to its core. The prisoners reported that Earth had weaponry, technologies, and advanced engineering designs kept in reserve for emergencies, strategic assets far beyond the imagination of their invaders. In a rare, fragile moment of honesty, the officer admitted that the true power of humanity had yet to be unleashed. This revelation sparked panic in the hegemony ranks. The commanders who had laughed at humanity's initial defenses now realized that their own hubris could lead to their undoing. With no idea of the full scale of humanity's power, the hegemony's best strategists were left to wonder what Earth might do next, and if they would even be able to survive it. The revelation from the captured alien officer sent shockwaves through the hegemony's ranks. For the first time, the invaders were forced to reconsider their confidence in their victory. Their intelligence had been flawed. Humanity, it seemed, had hidden weapons far beyond anything they had shown so far. While the hegemony's commanders scrambled to adjust their strategy, Earth's leaders knew the time had come to stop holding back. The United Earth Council activated the Black Archive, a deep, hidden repository of military and technological innovations that had been kept under tight security for decades. The archive contained humanity's most dangerous creations, weaponry and systems developed during the Cold War, the space race, and years of secret research. It was a treasure trove of unimaginable power, locked away not because Earth feared losing a war, but because of the devastating consequences of using such technologies. The Black Archive held weapons that could alter the very fabric of space-time. Among them were quantum disruptors capable of scrambling entire fleets' navigation systems, gravity-shear warheads that could rip apart planets with the force of a black hole, and self-replicating nanite swarms capable of disassembling entire ships or cities at a molecular level. There were also classified energy weapons, electromagnetic pulse generators, and advanced biological weapons that would render alien forces incapable of responding should they be unleashed. Humanity's decision to unleash these weapons was not made lightly. The leaders knew that doing so would change the nature of the war and alter their place in the galaxy forever. But with the hegemony pressing forward, showing no signs of retreat, Earth's leaders had little choice. The time for restraint was over. They needed to show the hegemony just how dangerous humanity could be. The first strike came in the form of an unprecedented surprise attack. A series of gravity-shear warheads were launched from Earth's lunar base, targeting hegemony ships, stationed above the planet. As the warheads detonated, they created localized singularities that distorted space-time, pulling entire alien ships into destructive gravitational fields. In a matter of hours, several hegemony vessels were obliterated, their crews helpless against the sheer destructive force. While the hegemony reeled from this initial blow, Earth wasn't finished. The next wave of attacks was even more horrifying. A swarm of nanite drones was deployed, consuming entire fleets in seconds. The drones, programmed to disassemble any foreign matter on a molecular level, tore through hegemony ship hulls with terrifying efficiency. Within hours, entire fleets of warships, once feared as the pinnacle of galactic warfare, were reduced to nothing but space debris. At the same time, human forces targeted key hegemony supply lines and infrastructure. Quantum disruptors sent shockwaves through the alien network, rendering their navigation and communication systems completely useless. Entire fleets were left stranded in space, unable to communicate or reorient their ships. Panic spread throughout the invader ranks as they scrambled to deal with the cascading effects of Earth's offensive. The hegemony, once so confident in their superiority, now faced a terrifying reality. Humanity had only begun to reveal the true extent of their arsenal, and every new weapon deployed seemed to strike harder than the last. The aliens had believed they were facing an uncoordinated, primitive species. What they now realized was something far more dangerous. A species that had been holding back, biding its time, until the moment it was ready to unleash its full power. This revelation sent shockwaves through the invader ranks. The hegemony's command structure, which had laughed off Earth's initial resistance, now feared the worst. The galaxy was about to see just how dangerous humanity could be, and whether the hegemony could survive their wrath. Shaken and disoriented, the alien leadership began to question everything. How could they have misjudged humanity so thoroughly? What other secrets were they holding back? The shocking power of humanity's black archive unleashed upon the hegemony caused a massive shift in the balance of the war. What had started as a simple invasion for resources and domination quickly turned into a nightmare of escalating terror for the aliens. Their fleets were shattered, their soldiers demoralized, and their commanders divided on how to respond. The humans had proven not only that they could fight, but that they could do so with devastating precision and unmatched creativity. As Earth's counteroffensive continued, the hegemony was forced into a state of deep uncertainty. Once proud, fleets were lost in space, reduced to floating wreckage by gravity shear bombs, while swarms of nanite drones relentlessly devoured anything in their path. The aliens' technology, once thought invincible, now seemed inadequate against humanity's hidden arsenal. Alien warships, crippled by quantum disruptors, floated helplessly as their communications and navigation systems failed. In many cases, entire fleets were left stranded in the void, completely incapacitated and vulnerable to further attacks. In the alien command centers, panic spread like wildfire. The once unified leadership of the hegemony began to fracture. Some factions, the more cautious ones, began to question the wisdom of continuing the invasion. These commanders, having seen the unimaginable destructive power that Earth had kept in reserve, realized that victory was no longer a given. If they pushed forward, they risked triggering a total collapse not just of the war effort but of their entire empire. Meanwhile, the more aggressive factions, those who believed in overwhelming force, argued for more brutal tactics, even suggesting that they retaliate with total annihilation, using their own most devastating weapons. But this idea was quickly dismissed by cooler heads. Humanity's arsenal was not just powerful, it was unpredictable. No one knew the full extent of what the humans had hidden away, and the fear of provoking even worse retaliation kept many alien leaders on edge. At the same time, Earth's leadership saw an opportunity to solidify their newfound power. The United Earth Council issued a direct message to the hegemony, stating simply, "The war ends now, or we will show you everything we've been holding back." The message was clear. Humanity had the upper hand, and they were ready to push further if necessary. The hegemony had no choice but to act fast. The once proud empire, which had conquered dozens of star systems, now found itself cornered by an enemy it had underestimated. Alien diplomats were sent to Earth to negotiate, but the once arrogant tone of the invaders had been replaced with a desperate, almost pleading urgency. They offered a ceasefire, acknowledging humanity's superior weaponry and requesting peace. Talks before the situation escalated beyond their control. Despite the destruction they had inflicted, Earth's leaders knew that peace would be a delicate process. Humanity had proven itself on the battlefield, but the psychological toll on the galaxy was immense. The hegemony had been shattered, not just militarily, but psychologically. Their dominance was no longer absolute, and every species in the galaxy would remember how easily the supposedly weak humans had turned the tide of war. In the final moments of the negotiations, Earth's representatives made one thing clear: they would never again be treated as an inferior species. They demanded autonomy, recognition of their military strength, and most importantly, a guarantee that Earth would not be invaded again. The hegemony signed the treaty, its leaders humiliated but forced to concede to humanity's terms. The galaxy would never be the same again. The hegemony, once an unstoppable force, had been humbled by the very species it had dismissed as primitive. Earth was no longer a backwater planet, but a power in its own right. And as alien civilizations looked on, many began to wonder if it was wise to continue underestimating humanity. After all, the humans had only shown a fraction of what they were capable of. The final lesson of the war was clear: never again would the galaxy dare to underestimate Earth. The invaders had learned a painful truth: the humans were not just survivors. They were fighters, and they would always hold something back, until the moment they were ready to show their full potential.